Happy Thanksgiving and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining Greg Tompsett and my very thankful, happy partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, are you feeling thankful? Hello?
What happened?
I have no idea.
That is the weird. Are we live? We're
Yeah.
still live. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Oh.
That's the wildest thing that's ever happened. Literally,
kicked ourselves off the show.
I don't know. Did it freeze up on your end? Because it froze up on my end, and every one of my notifications from like my texts and all my apps just went at once. I don't know if there was a log jam and like my data, and it just fired away and got me back on. So anyways, really, I'm here. Hi.
That was planned. And that was so we could make you feel exactly how that game felt. Really weird and awkward and frozen.
But we came back.
And then we came back. And now it's, all it's going to matter is that we came back. So
experience of live online shows, man. I'm always worried that it's going to be like my kids busting in the room that's going to mess up the show. But here it is, a technical difficulty. I wouldn't want to do it with anyone but you, Greg. And we can keep flowing with this one.
So you guys are joining us because on this Thanksgiving Day game, the Buffalo Bills somehow defeated the Detroit Lions 28-25 in a weird, ugly, not great game with some injuries that made things worse and all kinds of odd things. But ultimately, we'll get to the game-winning drive and the freaking laser that Josh Allen threw to Stephon Diggs, and then a really gutsy game-winning kick by Tyler Bass after him missing an extra point that was the reason we needed a game-winning field goal. So lots of things that were not great. But, Aaron, I know you and I are both hosting. My wonderful family is downstairs waiting for me to finish this show.
God bless our wives.
How'd you feel about the game?
Honestly, it was such a weird day. This is our first Thanksgiving up here where we've hosted more than just us and my in-laws. We had multiple people here. So that was weird to watch a Bills game, a meaningful Bills game with a lot of people around. So that felt weird. And then the game itself and just the pace of the game and how no matter what they did, and there was a few points where, and we can talk about them as we go through, is there was a few points where it's like you really felt, okay, now the Bills got that stop and we're going to pull away here. And they just never were able to pull away in this game. And we saw really what we probably, you and I should have seen in our preview, but maybe had too much faith in the Bills, that this Detroit team is scrappy. Like they're going to hang in these games, and that run game and their ability to, if they can keep Jared Goff moving with some of that play action and screen stuff, that they can really claw their way and stay into a game. And that's exactly what they did. And that doesn't make for the most enjoyable version of a Thanksgiving afternoon with family. And then when you throw in the injuries, Greg, we were talking offline, like it just makes you sick to, you want to celebrate a victory, but you kind of have that cloud hanging over your head now.
Yeah. So speaking of which, before we get into the breakdown, we saw Deion Dawkins at the end of the game. That seemed more precaution than anything else. He was jumping around, celebrating after some of the sideline catches. So I'm going to assume that one's not long-term or major. Obviously, everyone saw Von Miller's face as he was riding the cart off the field. Every online internet doctor said the same things. I will say there was a tweet from Ian Rappaport that said the initial diagnosis was a knee sprain and that there's some level of hope. I won't lie, I don't have a terrible amount of hope. It seemed pretty not great.
Baby Jesus.
But no one will know until the MRI comes out. We will find out about that MRI. I don't know if it'll be later tonight or tomorrow. It's probably tomorrow. But obviously everyone's going to be very concerned, and it is certainly on the table that Von Miller could have a season-ending ACL injury. Everyone is going to be hoping it's a sprain where maybe it's 4 to 6 weeks and we get him back for the playoffs. But obviously no one's going to know. I don't think we're going to get anything during the post-game presser information here. So we'll wait and find out more here. But obviously we're praying for all the best for Von, hoping that we get lucky here. But it certainly didn't look great at initial response.
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone in my house, the first thing you see with the non-contact when they slow it down, I think everybody just assumes the worst, right? Like we've seen it before. You know what that injury is going to be. You see his face, the dejected look. And Von knows his body really well. So the Rappaport tweeting out that those initial reports of a sprain, that's fantastic news. But everything I saw and everything I know made me immediately think like, damn, that's it. That's a wrap for him. So my brain is operating in that mindset that we're going to hear bad news, but if we get the good news, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. Cause that was probably the worst part about this game was that was hanging over my head while Thanksgiving dinner's being served, of the unknown certainty of Vaughn. Like his presence on this team has changed so much of even during this slump, Greg. One of the reasons that I felt good was you have a leader like Vaughn and you have this big playmaker on the defense. No matter how many of these guys are getting hurt, Vaughn's there. And so for him to kind of not be there, and then the other shoe to drop, which people have told me this was already off the table anyway, if Vaughn's out for the year, OBJ done. Right, that talk's over. That is directly associated. If there's any chance at OBJ, it is with Vaughn.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. Obviously, hoping for the best of what's there. But with this game, obviously there was some back and forth elements.
I will say real quick, there's people are saying somebody fell on the back of his legs. There was contact there. The initial injury to me looked as though it was a non-contact injury, and then there was somebody fall. His knee gave out before contact.
Whatever. We don't need to dissect it. I do think that he got rolled up on his ankle, then took a step, then that's where you saw, then got it afterwards. So I actually do think it was initially caused by contact. I don't believe it was non-contact. But he's injured either way. We'll see where it comes. No one's going to know until we get the MRI. So we'll see where that goes and what comes of it. But scary stuff. We'll see where it goes. He's obviously a critical piece of being able to do it. You saw the combination of not having Gregory Rousseau and AJ Epinesa. It was already going to be thin when your only pass rushers are Shaq Lawson, Boogie Basham, and Mike Love. That is simply insufficient. So we'll see where that goes. I think our best case scenario, we might need to finish this regular season with AJ Epinesa, Gregory Rousseau coming back and trying to scramble through. But I will say, before we get to the play-by-play and the quarter, Ed Oliver had maybe one of the best games we've seen from him, maybe ever. Just blowing up plays left and right, sack, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 other quarterback hits, constantly in the backfield, a safety, which obviously when you have a tie game with 7 seconds left, that safety was pretty critical. So awesome game by Ed Oliver. Great game by Matt Milano, despite one really, really ugly missed tackle at the end.
Could have been a lot bigger, yeah.
Correct. Ended up not being the game-changing play that it could have been. But anybody else you want to give a shout-out at the high level before we dive in?
No, at the high level, I think Ed Oliver, is really trending in the right direction. Starting like a couple weeks ago here, really last week started to ramp up, and you really saw it to come to like you said, maybe his most dominant performance, where he was just creating all types of havoc in that game, to the point where even that trick play, I think they wanted to avoid Ed Oliver on that 4th and 1, and not go into the middle of the Bills defense there. And
him and Daquan.
Daquan too had a big sack early on and was creating havoc there. So I thought, ultimately too, even without Vaughn, even though it didn't look fantastic, I thought at times they were still getting pressure when Vaughn wasn't in there. So the defensive line, I thought, had a pretty good day overall. And I think we could talk about some of the stuff going on behind them afterwards here. But in terms of shout outs, that Devin Singletary continuing to run hard, picking up nice hard runs, and the shiftiness and patience behind the line was actually really valuable in some of the short yardage today. Cause I didn't actually think his yardage looked all right here, right? Like where was he at? 14 carries, 72 yards. Like, I'll take that from a Devin Singletary.
Sure. Especially because I think it started with like 4 carries and 5 yards.
It wasn't great, to start. And I don't think the offensive line played great, even though he got some production later here and you got some out of Josh. I thought the offensive line had a terrible day. So hats off to Devin Singletary too.
Yeah. And you want to know what? We've given Isaiah McKenzie a hard time all season long. Yeah. He had a good game today.
Some big plays.
He had a good game today. He was getting himself open, and Josh, you could tell, still had some trust with him, going to him in some critical 3rd downs and things like that. So shout out to Isaiah McKenzie. We've been tough on him, and
3 explosives. I lost some track of the explosive plays in this game, but at one point I think he had 3 explosive plays, which was really the thing you wanted to see from him, right? Like, we've seen some of the short yardage stuff, but we haven't gotten what it was supposed to make him different and special in that ability to beat man coverage and beat those guys. And you saw that on display today.
Well, and maybe the quietest 8 catch 77-yard touchdown game in history from Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. A lot of that was that last piss miss.
Oh, good Lord. And again, we'll get to it here as we go through and what was there. But let's go ahead and dive right in. The game started out in the first quarter, traded 3 and outs and traded 2 touchdown drives. Yep. So right back and forth. we get a quick 3 and out, which is exactly what you want. You win the toss, you have the chance for the double dip, and you get a 3 and out. It was absolutely perfect. And I think it really was an indicator of the entire game. They had that immediate call they do all the time. They run Stephon Diggs in motion, and then they read the cornerback, and they're going to Diggs on the first throw, and he pulls up, and he was open, and it was just an easy stop route, and it hit him in the chest. And like, don't get me wrong, Josh was the problem in most of the reason that Diggs only caught 8 of his 15 targets today. But Diggs had 2 weird plays. That the one where he stumbled his feet,
the stumbling, the one's tough, yeah.
And then that one, like, it was just a stop route right in the chest. So we don't see that from Stephon Diggs. So I think it was a good indicator that, hey, this game's going to be weird. Sure. And what would have been, 2nd and 4, where the Devin Singletary run makes it 3rd and 1, instead it's 3rd and 7, and we don't get the play in. Josh has to throw it away, and we trade the 3 and out and give it right back to him.
And another weird play, a fumble on that punt recovered by Detroit, where it's like one of those ones where it's like, okay, here we go, we can get something, and they get it out. So wonky a little bit to start. I think you're right. The game was a little bit off overall here. Yeah, and then the Lions go on a long drive where a ton of third downs on
12
this drive.
plays, 61 yards, 3 third down conversions. It's just, we can't. 2 third down conversions. We held them on the last one where they went to 3rd and 1 and got to a 4th and 1. But they ended up converting on the 4th down. So they converted a new set of drives 3 times and then punched it in. And it was certainly one of those plays like, okay, I knew we talked about it. Their offense was better than their defense. We knew they were going to score some points, but it was still frustrating to see them, again, these 3rd and long conversions over and over.
I mean, it's really the crux of the issue for this Bills team this year. I think at some point they will get it corrected, but it's definitely frustrating to watch a team that's hung its hat on this, especially that 3rd and 9, giving up a play like that, getting a team into the red zone. Because I think in my mind, how you were going to beat this team was inside the 20s, right? Not letting them get into the red zone, because they are efficient in the red zone, and that run game is really dangerous in there. And so them continuing to get in.
This is my cousin Sarah. People in her house were losing turkey servings for how many negative comments against the Bills they were making because they had Patriots and Vikings fans over. I like that. Sometimes you have to take a serious approach, and I respect Sarah taking a firm hand. If you're hosting or if you're there, I actually have a picture via text that I'll pull up of where they were tracking it, of who is having the negative comments, and that they were actually literally tracking who said what thing. And then we're like, oh, well, you don't get turkey, which, sometimes you got to be serious about these things and really show people.
In this drive, a lot of people were probably losing.
Yeah. So Mike lost 3/4 of a pound of turkey from negative comments. And, it's just you can't have that.
Hey, you got to have it. Yeah. I mean, this right after. So they go down, Lions go down, score, right? 7-0. And nobody's really super strong Bills fans. My wife married into this, so she's kind of there hanging out as a Bills fan, right? But everyone else is from New England. They're either Patriots fans or kind of not hanging out as fans. But they were all kind of like, oh, I don't know, like making noises. I'm like, okay, like we're not going to do this, right? If I'm forced to watch football with all you people, I do not want to hear any reactions that are not positive. I only need positive energy around me. So I get it. Take away their food. Next year, I'm going to put that on the table.
Nice comment. Our producer, Chris Kepner, always here with us with a great comment. The Buffalo Bills now have as many wins at Ford Field this week as the Lions do this year.
Nice. Congratulations, Bills.
And I think we're going to go through a couple more things specific to the game, but for anything that I can tell people, with all the crazy travel, the weird weather, losing a home game that you were supposed to be home and just traveling on a short week, now it was a short week off a road game. Coming out of this with 2 ugly wins, it's still 2 wins.
Oh my God.
It's still 2 wins. And that, yes, does it feel bad? Do we have some injury things we got to figure out? Are there all kinds of coaching issues we got to ask? Are there tackling issues we got to fix? Yes, all those things are real, but it's coming out of it with 2 wins in those situations. And right now, 8-3 is 8-3.
Yeah, dude. I mean, we talk about it so many times. Every time I'm on the mic, I feel like we're saying that you don't need to be playing your best football right now. Yeah. That doesn't mean, to your point, that there aren't some concerns that if they don't get some of those things together and cleaned up, that they may never be playing their best football this year. But I have belief. We've seen this team struggle at times and put these types of stretches together. What I don't think we've seen as much of is them continuously winning throughout those stretches where they're still not playing their best football right now, and they're continuing to win games. And to me, that is just leaving meat on the bone and knowing that there's more out there. Tony Romo said it, and I've been saying it a lot, Greg, that once this team starts clicking, is really going to be a freight train. They're really going to be able to just go in and just demolish teams. I don't know if they're going to get clicking to the point, but they probably have the biggest potential in the NFL that if they do, they're unstoppable.
So quick comment here. We need to be able to see this. So Autumn brought it up, and then I think Gordon actually copy and pasted the tweet. So Jeremy Fowler just tweeted, source on Bills, Von Miller's knee injury, cautiously optimistic he avoided major damage in the Lions game, but Monday's test will reveal extent. Autumn here sharing, he walked out of the locker room with no crutches or assistance. Nothing guaranteed, but a good sign. Honestly, right now, I'll take that.
I'll take any positive.
For as definitive as I thought this was.
That's what I just said, yeah. And how
I
cautious we know the Bills are.
Yes.
They're cautious to the point where, like, if your ankle's swollen, they're putting you in a
boot
for the plane.
A walking boot for nothing. They put dudes in a walking boot for nothing.
That's what I'm saying.
I want to read this one from Corin. You guys are fantastic. You're very kind. Happy Thanksgiving and go Bills. He replied on a tweet earlier that Dane Jackson needs to sit down. Love him. Tough guy and good football player, but he's just not good enough. So Aaron,
you know where I'm going to stand on this, Greg, that I think we need to take a look around the league and compare to cornerbacks league wide of how they're playing. Like Dane's had a rough stretch here for the last two games. I'm not going to sit here to defend him as the guy that should have that role. I'm just saying be cautious of how long they're going to give him in that role due to how other people perform and how other people performed in this defense. And our version of people getting targeted and toasted and those things like that are very different than what the Bills defense is. This was still the game plan, still bend but don't break. And they just broke a few times in the red zone.
So I'm going to pair this with Sean's question. How many snaps did Trey have? I won't lie. I don't know that he played more than someone else said he was in on the second drive.
I did not see much.
Saw the first drive.
Yeah, I did not see much.
If he was in, it was just in the first quarter, and it was not again in the rest of the game, because I was looking, trying to see, hey, is he still out there? So I'm going to tie those two things together. Also, they were easing Kaiir Elam back in for his first game in a while. What I have seen the last little bit is not enough that it's, hey, Dane Jackson is benched. He can never play again. He's out of our plans. What it is, it better open up the discussion that he is the no doubt guy across from Trey White. It better open up the discussion that, hey, maybe it's a rotation. And if Kaiir Elam is making plays on the ball, which Dane Jackson is in the right spot, a willing tackler, and consistently is getting beat at the point of attack, consistently is getting beat at the point of attack. If Kaiir Elam is willing to make plays at the point of attack, he needs to have that opportunity to take that job and not just be a rotation and certainly not be a backup. So it hasn't already been decided. Dane Jackson hasn't lost the job, but it absolutely has to open up the discussion that he is now the guy opposite Trey White. It has to.
I don't think the discussion was ever off. Like that was never a lock that he was going to be the guy. That's the cornerback too has been in flux since Sean McDermott got here. I don't think that anyone's ever locked it down. Levi was like kind of had 1 foot in and 1 foot out for years. And I think that's where Dane is, right? Like that the job's always there to lose. He's not necessarily keeping a tight grip on it, but right now, because of injuries in the position they're in, there's a scenario here this year, Greg, where maybe Trey up until the playoffs isn't at a position where he's taking back his majority of the snaps and the whole unit is platooned and they're shifting guys in and out of there. And we don't know who's a real number 2 in this. We might not find this type of stuff out until next year.
I think we'll have a good feel by the Jets game. When they get the 10 days off in between, if we don't see a shift then and it's still a rotation then, I agree. I think we would see it through the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I think they would be more comfortable than other teams platooning the 4 guys in and out of a roster than maybe most teams are, and the fact that they've gotten starting reps. I do think that the coaches, even as much as Dane struggled, I think they trust in guys. They definitely have a more patient leash than the fan base does. And we've seen it play out with guys before that have gone through struggles. Taron Johnson is in the middle of going through a struggle currently in the way that he's playing football too. I think they will ride it out a little bit longer than we feel comfortable that they should, unless Elam really gets, as he's easing back in, really starts, to your point, showing the deficiency of Dane in getting hands on balls and getting attacking balls in air and not even giving up the receptions to begin with. But I do think this defense is more comfortable giving up yards and targets and receptions and assuming that they're going to clamp down in the red zone.
Yeah. So as we went into the second quarter here, the Lions had the ball answer, so we score back, we tie at 7-7. That one is the Isaiah McKenzie touchdown. So again, credit to him and a couple nice touches that drive. Detroit is driving. They get into Buffalo territory, and here's where we see Ed Oliver make a huge play. Not only puts his helmet on the ball to cause the fumble, but recovers it and gets the ball back. So we're now sitting there in reasonably good territory. They have the 42. The Bills put together a 10-play, 58-yard touchdown drive here. This is
where I thought the boat racing opens up,
yeah.
Greg. Like that fumble, that play, and hats off. That was the drive right before the fumble. Daquan Jones had a real nice sack on Goff right before that. And so you had just dominant football coming out of that. And it just felt like, okay, the defense has corrected itself. They're ready to go out, because this usually happens to a Leslie Frazier defense, either in the scripted stuff or in that first couple drives. They get pushed down the field.
Yeah, we're kind of getting a feel for them.
They make an adjustment, usually clamp down, you see it, and then it's like, okay, the Bills go down and we score. And it's again in kind of that fluky way, drop snap or fumbled snap on the 3rd and 2. Josh takes it and runs it in, kind of fluky, but Josh Allen-esque. But you kind of in this point here, I'm really thinking boat race. Like it's going to be a Thanksgiving day, just how Greg and I talked about. Maybe we don't see Josh in the 4th quarter. Like I'm that excited at this point.
I forgot that was even a thing early this year. And what is, an indicator, this, this entire game, long drives. So the Bills had a 10-play, 58-yard drive. The Lions answer back with a 15-play, 76-yard drive. Just multiple backbreakers. They went for 4th down on their own 33, which, good on Dan Campbell realizing that, hey, you're 4-7 at this point, or you were, 4-6. And if you drop to 4-7, that's your season's probably done. So good for him to have the balls to go for that and to do those things. They continue that drive down the field. He's in a spot
too where it's about winning over culture still in that building, right?
Absolutely. And, that comes down what looks like a, touchdown is called back to DeAndre Swift. It looks like, hey, okay, we got a chance to hold them. You get an incomplete pass. You get a nice play by Matt Milano to drop. Williams is dropped back there at the 6-yard line. Feel like we have something going. Swift runs back for 5. And then again, Amon-Ra St. Brown hit just a factor over and over and over again, scores. The Bills now 2 weeks in a row.
And that's the drive Von's knee, right?
Correct. That was the drive where Von Miller went out and
so
really
you lose a double punch to the gut on that drive.
And this is the point, 2 weeks in a row. The Bills finally won a couple coin tosses. So they're deferring and getting the ball coming out of half, which is nice. 2 weeks in a row, they're in a spot where they need a double dip. They need to be able to do it. Last week, they got a touchdown on the front end and a field goal on the back end. This time they go down, have a couple good plays, end up, Josh Allen gets sacked. Again, the offensive line was not great today. Knocks them back to where they have to try a 47-yarder. Tyler Bass, makes it and converts as time runs out. Disappointing because they had a shot at a couple of different plays during this drive.
Yeah.
And, Isaiah McKenzie, 27-yarder and 17-yarder. But
that 3rd and 10 where you get sacked, though, you can't have it. I want to watch that one back because I felt like the offensive line performed pretty poorly this afternoon. And there was a number of times where Josh was able to evade it and get free, but he's still got to get opportunities, especially on a 3rd and 10. You got to give them a clean pocket and let guys get downfield and get open. And just, I don't know what was happening downfield, but you can't take the sack on 3rd and 10. And most of the time, Josh can bail you out and get out of it. But every once in a while, man, this line's got to help them out.
Yeah. So we'll see, where those things go. They were, the offensive line was rough all day. But they end the half, taking the lead 17-14, plus you're getting the win, ball coming
and double dip is activated.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So you're feeling good about that. You come out for the 3rd quarter. They're, they get rolling a little bit. They got a couple things moving, Cook for 5 yards, Cook for 6 yards, get a play where I certainly thought Stephon Diggs should have gotten a flag for late hit, like a weird double hit between Jacobs and then Anzalone coming over. And
was Anzalone?
I think so.
Okay.
Jacobs made the initial one, and then then someone hit him late. It was either Deshaun Elliott or Alex Anzalone. It certainly looked like it could have drawn a flag, but didn't. So that ended up being a 3-yard loss. They get a 16-yard gain to Davis to get him back rolling again. They get down to where, they're moving along again. Another one, Isaiah McKenzie, 30 yards with a big play coming up big after a holding call, could have drop them back into 2nd and 21 and get them into good position. And now this one, what's your do you think this was more on Josh risking it or just the fact that it got tipped up? Rodriguez was there. I think that he kind of forced it, and that obviously the interception was because of the tip, but I think Josh put the ball in harm's way with the throw.
I know. I really didn't get a chance to watch this one back. The offensive line stinks. I feel like guys were pushed back. Like
Josh was gun shy even when he wasn't pressured.
And a lot of these batted balls and things are people getting pushed back into Josh and balls going off helmets and things like that. None of these pockets are clean. I don't know. I'm willing to put it on Josh. It's one of those plays though that it's just if the ball doesn't come out clean, if it gets tipped at all, you're just putting in harm's way in the red zone. And it's hard to really pin that on anyone in particular. I hate to be a scapegoat here. Like you can't pin it on necessarily the lineman. Good play by the defense. But yeah, putting the ball in harm's way in the red zone right now, it feels like a trend that's got to stop no matter who's at fault for these plays. But that one I kind of chalked up just as ball gets tipped down there. Anything can happen once that ball starts moving a different way.
Shout out Adam. We appreciate you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. We appreciate, I know our Canadian friends had their Thanksgiving earlier this year, but we appreciate it. We'll all be rooting for the Vikings tonight for sure. For sure. This was another one where again, the Lions now have the ball, have a chance to really answer back. We didn't double dip the way that we thought, but we get, Ed Oliver with a 5-yard tackle for a loss, knocks them back to the 3-yard line. We get an incompletion, and then Ed Oliver with a safety in the end zone. So now you're talking, within the last last 2 drives for the Lions, Ed Oliver with a tackle for a loss, a forced fumble, a recovered fumble, and a sack with a safety. Yeah. Just enormous game that really impacted the outcome.
That drive right there could very well be my drive of the game for the defense.
Let's give it to
him. Because I know which one's going to win.
Yeah, of course. Let's do this one because it deserves credit as well.
This one deserves credit because this starts out. I didn't get to again track explosives in this game, but I do know in that first half the Bills were winning. I think it was like 5-0 of explosive plays, and in the second half, this drive here, they came out with multiple explosives. I think to start the game on this one. I don't have the drive summary up on for me right now, but they had an explosive
another one, because the McKenzie had another 30-yarder on that drive, so one more.
No, I'm talking the Lions drive.
Okay.
Where the Bills got the no good field goal. I think this was a game changer because they got the stop on 3rd and 14. They got the stop, got them into a field goal, and it was no good by the Lions. And to me, these types of stops in this game were all the difference because every time that they were getting down, it felt like the Lions were getting into the red zone and scoring touchdowns, and to hold them to field goals in this game made all the difference. And then
there
you
were
get a missed
2
field
for them
goal
on that drive. Amon-Ra St. Brown for 26, and then the Jamal Williams run for 27.
Yes, and that just felt like at the time, all right, the Bills are up, but this is the type of game where a team comes back and doesn't allow you to boat race them or go up on them. And that's what the Bills have really struggled to boat race teams lately and put them away. In a drive like this, I felt at the time was really going to be maybe more of a, hey, now we're going to really start to do the boat racing. But what it did do was give them the opportunity to win a close game. Right.
And, the answer back is what really concerned me is you had the missed field goal. That felt kind of like what was there. Duncan, we appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. And I think another one here from Justin. The all the things going on, the ability to pull out 2 wins here that were ugly. It really goes a long ways.
It really is. Yeah.
So the answer back here is what concerned me. So the Lions missed the field goal. I feel like we got some good energy going. We're up 5, and then we get Allen sack, Allen pressure, so a check down to James Cook. Then we try the deep shot to Diggs, where if he does weird one where he stumbles, and then find out, even if he had to come up with that, it was holding on Greg Van Roten, so it wouldn't have mattered. And then we punt, and honestly, this has been something we haven't seen all season. All season, our kickoff and punt coverage units have been exceptional. And Khalif Raymond rips off a 41-yard punt return that wasn't a bad punt. Like there was decent hang time as a 56-yard punt.
Coverage
Both
was there.
Taiwan Jones and Saran Neal were there. Both of them leave their feet and dive at the ankles of Khalif Raymond, which is great if you clip them and make the tackle. But I feel like if they just break down there, you might have to chase them for like a 5 or 10-yard return. But like it was just weird to see both of them leave their feet and dive like that when they're 2 really good gunners. Like if you want to complain about them, you know, the roster spots and blah, 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 what else they contribute, but they've been really good at that. I was disappointed to see that. And the 41-yarder was a field flipper.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, everyone's susceptible to having a bad play somewhere, and these guys don't do it a ton, but tough spot for it. And it was really kind of, foreshadowing by Dan Campbell at halftime when he was talking about with Tracy Wolfson, what do they got to do to stay in this game? And one of the things hey, we gotten pretty close with some of these punt returns in the first half. We break one of those. That's how a team like this stays in a game like this, right? And as soon as they said that, that popped in my mind like, shit, he's right. That is how you stay in this game.
That comment that had just come up, was Reggie Gilliam, chasing him down, maybe saving a touchdown. Like he was off to the races if Gilliam doesn't make that tackle there.
I mean, they end up scoring.
Flipping, So you're right.
Anyway,
not saving anything. Flipping to the fourth quarter here. The Giant, that drive starts with 56 seconds left. We get a weird defensive pass interference. I was a little frustrated with.
Yeah, that was a late one too, man.
Yeah, late flag. Then you get another one, a little drop off to right. Then you get the 11-yard run by Jackson where, I can't remember who, but someone had a shot at him in the backfield and it ends up turning into 11-yard. And it's sad that I can't remember who, because there were so many of those today where somebody had a shot at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield and they end up going for 10 yards. That Jamal Williams for 5.
I think
Jamal
that
Williams
one
for 4.
That was the Milano they highlighted it in Romo Vision where Milano came up and missed the tackle, and then he went down the sideline for like an extra 11.
Yeah, and this one they get down to where it's 3rd and goal at the 1. You feel like they're going to get a stop, and then again, talk about making a play at the point of attack. Dane Jackson, like he normally does, has good coverage. He's in decent position, and DJ Chark is just bigger and stronger and reaches his arms out and makes a catch for a touchdown while Dane Jackson's in position but can't make a play on the ball. And then we get the 2-point play where they're just expecting the ball to go up the middle and he trots into the end zone because no one is there, and
I'm feeling a little dejected at this point in the game and at dinner, and you got the Vaughn injury and it's going sloppy.
Just wait.
3 and outs, and here I just feel like I want to kick everyone that's at my house out and not do Thanksgiving anymore.
I'd like to end this. I'd like everyone to leave my house now. So the Lions have taken the lead 22-19. They kick it back to the Bills. The Bills start with a little bit of movement here. They get a couple things going. You have some Josh runs. You have Singletary, and you're going back and forth, converting, getting a couple things going. And then again, pressure. It's not going to show it in the box score, but 3 straight incomplete passes after they had opened up the drive with 4 out of 5 plays as a run. I'm starting to get a little frustrated with Ken Dorsey in his mixing of plays when he calls things. And here you got some things going. You're getting first downs, mixing in the run. I'm not saying just go straight to the run. And then, we're getting pressure and the offensive line isn't holding up really well. And it goes incomplete pass under pressure, incomplete pass under pressure, incomplete pass under pressure over and over and over again. And now they just took the lead and we're punting the ball back to them with 10 minutes left in the game. That was the low point for me, where I was like, oh my God, are we going to give this game to the freaking Detroit Lions?
Yeah, no, I was super dejected. But I will say, a small defense of Dorsey, and I'd still want him to clean this stuff up. Man, if I had Josh Allen, you would have a tough time getting me to pull the ball out of his hands too much. And if I did it 4 times, I'd be like, man, I got to get Josh going. I don't want to take him out of the game, because later in this game, he shows you why every time he has a football in his hands, even in his bad games, he shows you not to take the football out of his hands. And that's the only reason that I understand the antsiness of like, okay, we're picking up 3 yards here. We're getting something going on the run, but God, I can unleash Josh. I have a Josh Allen. Why would I not want to use that toy? I'm that guy in video games. Like if I have energy saved up, I use all that energy. And I think that's all Dorsey's doing.
And you're not wrong. My only question is sometimes in this spot where
there's situational
and that you might need to save Josh from himself a little bit. In that, like, hey, he's not 100% Josh right now. So his energy meter in your video game isn't actually full. Sure. It's that you keep using it when it's only going up to 50% and not letting it get all the way up.
Yeah, no, I get it. But and I was a little frustrated too in the run game early. We see it a little bit later, but if Josh is healthy and there's no real risk of re-injury like you're telling me, then I want to see Josh running the football too. in those situations against a team that can't tackle him or handle that, which we did see later in the game, but in these situations. But I'm on the page with you of frustration with Dorsey in these moments for sure.
Yeah. So now here's some credit to the special teams. Sam Martin, a really nice, punt laid down at the 9-yard line with nice hang time, forcing a fair catch. So the Lions are starting at their own 9, and I'm starting here with here we go again, because it's 2 straight balls to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who my family, I was telling them about the dad and the Mr. Olympia and him like seeking out his wife as a German Olympic decathlete and like literally like trying to raise his sons to be professional athletes. And like we were talking about it beforehand. And so they knew about him, and he kept getting the ball over and over and over again. And we get it. Those 2 plays of 19 and 16, I'm not feeling great. They're up to the 44. It's in that position. And here we finally start to see a little bit of pressure come. We don't have Von Miller. Ed Oliver's been playing his, butt off the entire game here. And we now see Tim Settle disrupt a little bit. You get an incompletion there. You get Jared Goff kind of freaked out what's going on, and you get them to punt the ball back to us. And I'm feeling like,
dropped interception killed me though.
Oh,
it was a nice bad out by the receiver. The receiver got his hand on the
Justin
ball,
Jackson made a play on it.
Dude, you get that play.
Oh God, you get the ball at midfield there.
Yeah.
Instead, they flip it around, have a nice punt. We have to fair catch, and we have the ball at the 10-yard line. So now, this is where, you're
Diggs
kind of in
going.
Position of, probably deserved some West Hurt drive of the game, if not for the other pieces that were floating out there. But you're talking about starting the ball 9 minutes left at your own 10-yard line, 90 yards to go, down by 3. And this is where, okay, we got to get some things together here. And I want to look real quick. Josh did end up having an incompletion late, but it completed his first 5 passes in a row. So it was a mix of Knox, catching the ball, Allen scrambling.
Diggs had that nasty spin move on one of them where he caught it, spun out of it, and got the first down.
And going through, they end up getting down there, get to where, the time is ticking.
Passer there.
Oh yeah. And what a dumb play by Bryant on that play. Like just
that was like absolute blatant. Can't
every
do that
single fan
to any quarterback, let alone Josh Allen.
Lions fans are sitting there going, "Oh my God, you idiot." They're not mad about the call. They're mad at him for being an idiot.
Yeah.
But getting down there, you get to a choice where, hey, we're like running so much clock off here. It's a perfect drive. And, they get 6 minutes and 19 seconds off. And it's almost like, oh, maybe we want to run it one more time. But again, you never turn down a touchdown. So they get Stephon Diggs roasts his guy, quick inside slant. Josh hits him right on the money. And here, I'm feeling awesome. And then, critical extra point to go up by 4. And I was talking to my family about how big it was to score a touchdown, that, hey, if we score, we go up by 4. And then we don't. Tyler Bass had the longest streak in the NFL. Justin Tucker, Daniel Carlson, 2 of the best kickers in the league, have missed 2 extra points since the last time Tyler Bass had missed, which he hadn't missed since his rookie year. He was at 107 straight extra points and misses the most critical one we have.
Bills, man.
Oh, very Billsy. Very, very Billsy. So now we're talking 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. The Lions.
This is where my Apple Watch, I think the exact time where my Apple Watch zips right up to the top and hangs out there.
Are you exercising? So we start, they're going down. DeAndre Swift, again, the missed tackles here. The missed tackles are killing me on this.
Milano miss, yeah.
Just multiple spots where guys have a chance to make a play in the backfield.
Hamlin missed a big one on this drive.
Really, really rough one.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, and I will say the time management was terrible here by the Lions again.
Yes.
End of the first half and end of the game. Horrible time management.
Yes.
They get down to where, and I'm talking about, with my family, that a couple of people are saying, oh, what does it matter if Amon-Ra St. Brown got the first down or not? I was like, well, it matters a ton because it changes the decision by the Lions, because now you're in a spot of, hey, do I do a quarterback sneak, or if I don't make it, I then have to go. But they had timeouts to use, and they ran a shotgun play action wheel route to DJ Chark on 3rd and 1 when they had been getting quarterback sneaks, and Jamal Williams had been converting every play. Sure, you're right, and it looks good if you hit it.
Yeah.
But you had been converting those, and you had 2 more timeouts. I just don't understand.
I do think in most situations, if you're not playing against Josh Allen, you feel pretty good that even though that
Sure,
the
tie the
time,
game up and go to overtime,
yeah,
and you
you're
got
like, okay, I left a
momentum.
little bit, but we're in a different age of football with some of
Yeah,
these QBs. Like, dude, 10 years ago, you told me somebody's getting the ball with 20, whatever seconds
23,
left,
23
23
seconds.
seconds left, that I'm going to be able to stop them from getting into field goal range on a regular kickoff. But that's just not the case anymore with Josh Allen's and Patrick Mahomes type guys.
Yeah. So now both drives at the end of the first half, the Lions, and the announcers were giving them a hard time there, did not force the Bills to use one timeout and ran 3 extra plays before the 2-minute warning, gave the ball back to the Bills with all 3 timeouts for them to drive down and score. Here, again, bungled the clock, had 2 timeouts in their own pocket, gave the ball back to the Bills after having to kick a field goal with 28 seconds left. So they give the ball back to the Bills at the 23, kick it through the end zone, don't force them to return and take any time off. So the Bills are sitting there at their own 25 with all 3 timeouts left.
And Josh Allen.
And Josh Allen. And right off the bat, I'm telling my family, I'm like, all right, I want to see Josh take 3 steps,
3 or 4 passes,
just real quick. And they're like, oh, do they have to play the sideline? I'm like, no, they know the Bills have 3 timeouts. I got to play defense on the whole field. And Josh starts to pad it, and I get a little bit nervous because the offensive line's making me nervous all day long. And Josh unleashes an absolute rocket straight down the field. Stephon Diggs, 36 yards. Josh throws it about 40 yards from where he was
on
sitting,
a rope, only where it can be.
Rope.
Yeah.
And Diggs is like in the middle of 2 safeties that drop deep.
There's
and
triple coverage right
there.
there.
3 guys right in the middle of it. Unbelievable throw.
The defense, when you're a defensive coordinator and you have that coverage and you're expecting them to take some shots, you do not expect the quarterback to be able to beat that coverage in that way. Like, there's not dudes. This is you broke that video down on TikTok. This is the difference between what real arm strength is versus people think just dropping 60 yards downfield. It's putting a ball 36 yards downfield or 30 yards downfield on a just rope.
In the amount of time where the safety can't break on it.
You cannot, even the corner is right there to make a play trail technique because it's a little behind, but the ball's coming in there too hot, too fast, and unbelievable Stephon Diggs to make any type of adjustment on a throw that hard. Just, it's why that connection is special. It's why they're one of the most efficient in the NFL at what they do. I mean, before this drive, I had a lot of confidence and like, I'm there now. You can't give Josh 30 seconds or less, or 30 or
even on a game where he's not having a great game.
That moment in time, he's not going to be too shook to be able to make big plays downfield. But to the same point as you, Greg, I thought it was going to be like, okay, it's going to take him 4 or 5 plays to get down there, maybe a big Josh run, but no, he gets them right down in field goal range immediately on the first play of that drive.
Yeah, and I want to shout out here, our Uncle Jumbo's responsible play of the game was the next 2 play calls where you had Josh do the immediate quarterback draw and then the quarterback power sweep. Hey, we're not putting the ball in harm's way. We're not going to let the clock stop. We control what's going on. Just want to get a couple extra yards for Bass, 3 yards on the one, 9 yards on the other. You take what would have been a 57-yard field goal down to a 45-yarder, get it into range, and then the guy who put this game at risk, and because of the missed extra point, comes through with a clutch 1-score win. Tyler Bass has a game-winning field goal. Beautiful construction, great time management, fantastic job in both areas. And that, again, here, I like Dan Campbell a lot. I think Dan Campbell has a lot of good things. He is a old school Andy Reid, old school Rex Ryan level horrible time manager. Terrible time management. And they gave the Bills 2 field goals, one at the end of the half, one at the end of the game, in a game where you won 28-25, and he gifted them those 6 points.
Yeah, the Bills probably didn't deserve to win this game.
No, the Lions played great. The Lions deserve to win a game.
They deserve to be the winners of a game like this. But yeah, you can't make those mistakes against a team like this. This is how the Patriots would win so many games every season. Not all those games were pretty dominant victories by Bill Belichick and his team. It was ultimately other teams would end up making mistakes in critical moments because of the weight of playing against a big team like the Patriots, and they would drool all over themselves in a big moment and gift the Patriots extra points or whatever it is. And these teams are too good to where you can't give them advantages in the game. If you have them on the ropes, you got to put them away. And so you can't give a team like the Bills 23 seconds to move down the field. They got that guy. They got him.
Yeah. And I know there was a question here about why did they I actually saw Sean McDermott yelling. One of the players called timeout. Sean McDermott was waiting for the 4-second mark, and one of the players signaled timeout on the field. So again, it's in a panicked moment at the end, but Sean McDermott was waiting to take it at 4 seconds and kind of yelled at one of the players that took the timeout, but it is what it is. So again, we're not going to hold everybody late here. We know you guys have Thanksgiving. We both have some family. I haven't had any turkey or stuffing or mashed potatoes yet.
Oh, geez.
So appreciate everybody. You guys have been awesome. Aaron, any final thoughts about this before we hand things off and get back to our Thanksgiving weekends?
No, man, follow us on Twitter. We'll have all kinds of thoughts over the next few days here. We now have some time to digest the last couple of weeks of Bills football. But most importantly, if you're watching this, thank you so much for spending some time on Thanksgiving with us. Really appreciate you guys. And hope that everyone out there is having a great Thanksgiving. And I know, like I said yesterday, got a ton to be grateful, Greg. Very grateful for you, this show, the relationship we've built through doing this show. So I hope that you and your family have a great Thanksgiving. And Chris, you down there too. Chris, our producer.
Absolutely.
Hope you and your family have a great Thanksgiving. Looking dapper down there, Chris.
Yeah, I got to bring. Hold on, I got to bring Chris.
Look at these cufflinks, guys.
Show people the cufflinks. It's fantastic. The man's looking sexy in a suit for us on Thanksgiving. Has Buffalo Bills cufflinks on his suit. I'm thankful for you, Chris. You've been a huge addition to the show and
not an official of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, just in case anybody's confused, the man wearing the cufflinks does not work for the Bills. We in no way are trying to make people think that we have an official of the Buffalo Bills.
Correct.
Here. But I agree. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for Chris. I'm thankful for Eric and everybody else on the Cover One staff. I'm thankful for all the people in the chat here. You guys have been awesome. And we appreciate all of your time and energy today. We're going to go and have fun with our families and appreciate and be thankful for the time with them. But appreciate everybody here. Make sure you take a minute. If anything you're going to be thankful for, hit like on your way out. It really helps us. Please, I'll be thankful for all the likes. Go and smash the like button before you leave, and then go have an extra piece of pie for me. To put a big scoop of Cool Whip on there, big piece of pie, enjoy every bit of it. But on behalf of Chris Kepner, on behalf of Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You have been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.